I've noticed a bit of a concerning trend with the conversation around Wuthering Waves, and I want to just put out a little bit of a disclaimer out to people who are very excited for the game. Slow down. Now, some of you may hear that and go, what? Connor, what are you saying? Like, this is telling people to slow down? Everybody's excited about this game right now. And that is exactly my point. I'm concerned with Wuthering Waves that we're starting to reach a tipping point, so to speak, in our excitement for it. A lot of people think Wuthering Waves has a lot of promise, myself included. I do earnestly think this is going to be a very good and exciting game and something that I think is going to be very refreshing for the gacha space. But I also think that people need to have a little bit of a realistic perspective on what it's going to be and going to be able to deliver. I'm concerned that Wuthering Waves is going to get a Tower of Fantasy treatment. Now, what do I mean by that? For the first time in a long while, we're seeing a game emerge that is shaping up to be a real contender with other Juggernaut games, and especially, like I'm gonna say it, Genshin Impact, to the point where some people are still using the Genshin killer terminology, which, like, it's not going to be a Genshin killer, everybody, like, just chill out, but definitely at least a contender, something that's going to provide real competition to the game, which is a great thing, and I do personally believe will be positive for both games as a whole. But being in that category, I think people are starting to look at Wuthering Waves in such a positive light, in a way that they have such high expectations for it that they're going to be unachievable to meet. For the first time since Tower of Fantasy, Wuthering Waves is shaping up to be that true contender. Now, Tower of Fantasy, when it launched for the first time, there was a ton of buzz around the game and it being marketed as a true Genshin killer, like, to the point that people were truly believing that it was going to be the thing that took it apart, that it had a lot of the same aesthetics and vibe and inspiration of Genshin Impact, but put into an MMO setting that was going to be more conducive to cooperative play, that was going to draw a lot of people in. It also came at a time where a lot of people were experiencing severe Genshin burnout, and so there was a lot of excitement around the game. Now, overhyping is not the only reason why Tower of Fantasy did not do well. It was met with a litany of technical issues, pacing issues, as well as some other time gating mechanics that people just were not a fan of, and frankly since then has not been treated super well. They've also recently been digging themselves an even bigger hole with everything that they're wanting to launch with Tower of Fantasy 2.0, with doing the new relaunch servers, but that's a whole nother video that we're going to talk about. But my point being, it was so overhyped that there was no way it was going to meet everybody's expectations. And it did have some technical bugs on launch that were later fixed down the line, but with failing to meet expectations and experiencing those technical issues, it was basically DOA. I think Wuthering Waves is getting to that hype level, potentially even past it at this point, where people are expecting and may expect too much from the game and not even realize it. Even if Wuthering Waves does have a flawless launch, a great CBT2, even if it does have a great global release and there are no technical issues to be had, if your expectations have been so high to begin with, you can't help but being disappointed. Think about it like this. Let me give you a personal example that happened in my life. There's a movie from Christopher Nolan called Memento that is admittedly a great movie, but before I had seen this movie, I had a couple friends that were so overhyping this movie that it was just a mind-bending journey, that was a really deep story, and the way that it all pieced together was just fantastic, and you needed to watch it. You needed to watch this movie. It was just so great. It's the best movie ever. And I went and I was excited and I watched it and it was fine. I had been so overhyped for the movie that by the time I actually got to see the movie, there was no way that it could meet my expectations, because I had just had subconsciously placed the bar so high that I had ruined the entire experience for myself. Now, if I had just gone and seen the movie, or had somebody just recommend and say, hey, this is a good movie, go and watch it, and then I did, I probably would have had a significant better experience when watching the movie. The problem there is not the content of the movie, the problem there is my expectations and the degree that it was overhyped. And that's my point with Wuthering Waves. I'm still a firm believer that Wuthering Waves is going to be a fantastic game. It is going to check many of the boxes that people are looking for, and I think even with the story reworks, I'm optimistic to say that people who are story lovers for gacha games are also going to get something they love. We know the combat's going to be great. We've seen the reworks. We've seen the redesigns on the characters. Of course, course, many of those things I think are pretty clear are going to deliver. But whether or not they deliver is irrelevant to the degree that your expectations are set. I'm genuinely hopeful and optimistic for Wuthering Waves, and I want to see the game succeed. I think it has great potential, and I really do think it could shape up to be one of the biggest games of 2024, personally. Maybe somebody will disagree with me on that, but I do think there's a real chance. But if we start setting unrealistic expectations, like it's the literal best thing since sliced bread that's going to save gaming, which is how it feels sometimes when people talk about this, then I don't think we're setting ourselves up right. And I personally want to make sure that I'm setting up my viewers and people in my community that set your expectations accordingly. At the end of the day, the developers and the team behind it are all still human, and we may still have some bumps in the road getting there and even on launch. But I do earnestly think at this time that it is very promising and that we have some great potential there. So be excited. Be excited for it. Taipei Game Show is going on right now, and there's been some recent combat footage which looks really cool. CBT2 is right around the corner, and it's looking very promising from everything that we've seen in the dev talk. But make sure that you're not making a video game messiah figure out of Wuthering Waves. Be excited, but don't be unrealistic. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Am I off base here? Do you think I'm just, raining on people's parade? That's not what I'm trying to do. I just actually want to see success for the game long term. But let me know what you think in the comments down below if you disagree with me or if you agree with me. I just would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you made it this far in the video, make sure to drop a quick like and subscribe on the channel, guys, for more PGR and Wuthering Waves content. Special shout out to all my patrons who have joined at the backer level. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do that in the link in the description of this video. Also, special shout out to our producer level patron, Bela. Thank you so much as always for being at that tier. And if you'd like to have your name shouted out like Bela, you can also do that by joining the producer tier on my Patreon. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.